Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Powerful on Purpose, our special edition around the Wake Up Revolution book. And I have another powerful interviewer slash author with me today, Peggy Cameron. And I want to share a little bit about what she does because I think when we hear the term financial planner, ooh, right? Like that walls come up and we're like, I don't need that. But really, there's so much more to it. And Peggy has been a solopreneur for 25 years, working in the personal tax and financial planning business, and has a passion for helping people, but particularly women, sort through not only financial questions, but then the money mindset that goes behind that. So, welcome, Peggy. So happy to have you here with me. Yeah, looking forward to this conversation. So, tell us a little bit about what you do for people. I know we were talking a little bit before the show, kind of this different situations that you see, and what lights you up about doing a business around financial planning and taxes. Because for many of us, it's more painful than joy, right?
It is. I like to solve puzzles. That's why I love doing taxes, seeing how much money I can keep in my client's pocket rather than the tax man's pocket. So that's the first thing. And then on the financial planning side, I had a mother manage the family finances. So it just seemed like a natural thing for me to fall into. And she managed the budgets and the cash flow and the investments and so on. And then when I'm out doing tax returns, I see that they really don't know what the numbers are. I'm no good at money. Oh, I don't know. My husband looks after that, or that kind of stuff.
Right.
And and then the husband dies, or the husband leaves them, or they leave the husband, and all of a sudden is now what? And so they need someone who can coach them through those trying times in life, and
Right.
that's what got me into it.
Cool. And share that one example because I think this is super powerful. It's not just always personal taxes or even taxes in general. The person who said you ought to put me on your company as a shareholder.
Yeah, it was a couple of years ago, and one day she just said to her husband, "I think you should put me on the company as a shareholder, and just in case something happens." And he died 4 months later. So she was then able to keep the company going and then slowly, unwind the company because she had authority, and it was a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And um, I imagine would have been quite a mess if she had not been a shareholder.
Worst mess.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So was there ever moments when you realized this is what I meant to do or this is what I really love to
The coaching aspect of it, yes. The financial planning, I sort of fell into it, decades ago. But the coaching aspect, a couple of friends of mine died, friends. Each of them was 39 years old.
oh wow.
Yeah, oh wow is right. One guy had an online business, very successful, but everything was online, including all his investment accounts and his bank accounts. And his wife had no idea where everything was. They even had to have a GoFundMe campaign to help her pay the mortgage. I was mad at him. I'm still mad at him for leaving her and her kids, their kids in that situation. And then 6 months later, another son-in-law of a client died 2 weeks before he turned 40. 39 years old, left a wife and a baby, and again, a solopreneur. And he was a lawyer and had no will and had no life insurance and hadn't filed taxes. And I'm mad at him too. I just didn't want that to happen to any other wives and babies. And so it's become my flame I go towards or something. I'm not a lawyer, but I work with lawyers, and I feel quite passionate that everybody should have a will, everybody should have a power of attorney, and everybody should let somebody know where all their important documents are, especially in this day and age when everything is online.
Right. Right.
I came back to the office after that first guy died and went around the office and said to all the lawyers, "Do you have a will? Do you have a will?" No, no, no. Yes, yes. And, I became the little nagging angel on their shoulder to tell them, get their wills and powers of attorney in order. So they
Right.
did, just because they'd have to listen to me every day.
Your superpower.
That's my superpower.
But so interesting. You would think of all groups, that one would have said yes unanimously, right?
Yeah, you'd think so, but no.
Yeah. How funny. Talk a little bit about how your lived experience with those, and we've already heard several examples, right? How does that shape the way you lead today? We have a little bit of an idea since you said you're the little angel on their shoulder.
Coach the clients to do it themselves, but I also provide the guidance of what needs to be done and point out to them what their priorities are or help them realize their priorities and sometimes point them out. If they don't
Sure.
say their wife and kids or their husbands and kids, then I say, well, what about them and what are you going to do about it? And then I remind them, have you got it done? That accountability coaching aspect to it. Or the little nagging angel on the shoulder, as the case may be.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and that's do your financial plan yourself. If you need me to run numbers in the final analysis, I will, but you need to take ownership of the plan, and you need to make sure that all the ducks are in a row and that everything's in place.
And what I also hear you saying is someone having that perspective of things could go wrong. Like we're not hoping that, but let's at least set it up that if something did, God forbid, happen, right? That everybody's okay. We understand what to do.
And it doesn't even just apply to the 30 somethings or the 20 somethings. I wrote my first handwritten will when I was driving through Northern Ontario in the winter. And I just thought, oh, there's probably going to be a moose or a deer on the road. I didn't have much, but, I just thought, okay, I'm going to write it by hand. At least there's something.
Right.
And then there's people in their 80s and 90s who have wills, but they're 25 or more years old. Or the will is 2 years old, but we can't find the beneficiaries of the wills. We don't know who they are. And even the people who should know who they are don't know where they are. Little things like that we
Right.
don't think about. Or the
Sure.
will doesn't include all the children. Why? I forgot about that one. Yeah. My life is surrounded by, because I'm in a law office, that I'm surrounded by estate stuff and I hear stories and I'm affected by stories in my own life and I'm learning what not to do. And I want to
Sure.
share that.
Cool. So, what would you say is a truth about women and power? And I think here we're talking about the power of finance, but certainly that could be expanded, right? That you believe more of us need to hear.
I think women should have their own money. If you have your own bank account and it's got money in it, you have your own retirement savings with money in it, it gives a sense of security, a sense of a little bit of power that if something goes wrong, you've got this safety net. And something just flew in and flew out of my head about women and money and power. And it's about being able to run your own life and not have to answer to anybody else if you don't want to. A good example for your children. That was the thing that flew in and out.
They're glad
Um,
you caught that, right? On the
yeah,
back
but
side.
it's like my mother set a very good example to all of us.
Right.
And then we can set examples to our children and their children and down all the way down the line.
Right. Do you feel like between men and women that more women have, or maybe the hangups are different or bigger hangups than men? Because we've had a different relationship with money, certainly in the past. I think some of that's changing, but really that generational hangups.
Well, men and women view money differently, that's for sure. Women will use, in my experience, women will use the money to look after the family, buy the food, buy the clothes for the kids, not necessarily put money aside. It's the husband that often does putting the money aside. And they also don't spend the money on themselves. Buy something nice for you. It's a refrain often, but no, 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 the kids need new shoes or whatever the story is. And it's still true today. It's not just my mother's generation or my grandmother's generation.
Or I would guess that's kind of where that having a little bit of your own money comes in.
Well, having your own money gives you can buy a present for your partner and they don't necessarily know what it is in advance because the credit card bill came in. My present is from so and so. Yeah. You can have
Got
surprises or you
Yeah.
can treat them on their birthday without dipping into their partner's budget, let's say. Need to know how much this dinner cost? It's your birthday.
Right? Yeah. And that does give people autonomy and some sense of
Yeah.
control, of
And
sovereignty over their own
independence.
lives.
Independence and
Yeah, absolutely. I think at the end of the day, none of us would disagree that money is power, whether it should be or shouldn't, but in this world it is.
in our world, it certainly is.
What are you building now that is stretching you beyond your current comfort zone?
What I'm building now is masterminds for solopreneurs, a place where people can come together and discuss their successes and their concerns with other people who've been there, done that, and who can give them a different perspective. People who are not going to judge them, people who understand what's going on. And that is so important. For women, it's important to have a mastermind of all women, I think, so that they feel free to speak their own truth. And I've also started to pull together a mastermind for retirees. Could be, women, men, couples, doesn't matter. But life is different after you retire, and you don't really want to share your stories, your successes, or your concerns sometimes with your intimate friends. It's nice to have people who don't know you to share that kind of information. Eventually they do know you, and so you have a different relationship than you have with your next door neighbor or your sister or whoever it happens to be.
Absolutely. I think it's so important to have communities with like-minded people, right? On the same journey, me, whatever that is, who can support, challenge, have us see different perspectives for sure. Yeah. And if you could sit across from the woman you were, when you started your entrepreneurial journey, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
What would you tell her? What advice would you give her?
Practice what you preach. Do more of that, 'cause there are so many. I'd suggest finding a mastermind right away. Find that group of like-minded people, not just women, but men and women that I would feel comfortable sharing what's going on in my business life and getting ideas. Being Focusing more on the women's side of things and the mindset side of things. It's so important. And we didn't even think about it when I started. Nobody knew the word mindset. I don't think it was invented for decades after that. So, and now it's all over the place. Everybody uses that word. But watching how people think about money and trying to help them work through the issues that they have around money, and now we call mindset.
Right, exactly. Everybody was doing some aspect of it, right? And now we have a term and, well, it's a little bit like mastermind. Somebody said the other day, "Do you know what it means?" I said, "I used to know what it means, but I've seen a bunch of different variations. And so I really don't know what it means." But I know you've been a member of a couple, because we've talked about this, right? Powerful masterminds. And so tell us a little bit. What makes a mastermind powerful? If somebody were to say, "How do I find one?" Because again, there is a gazillion variations.
That's right. And that's why I use the word a true mastermind, because a true mastermind is a group of 6 or 8 people at the most who come together on a regular basis, and they share the successes in their life and they share the concerns. There's no teaching, the facilitator is not up front and saying this is what you have to do. It's a sharing group. And then the facilitator comes in at the end to say, to sort of summarize it and also offer any insights that they might have. In a really good mastermind, you also might have retreats where you'd have a whole day of getting to know each other better, have a special guest or two to talk about something that the group really wants, and more masterminding. Helping each other is all about helping each other with what's the word? No hidden agenda.
Right. But
You
yeah,
know,
no
you're not,
pitching or selling. We're just here to help you get to whatever the next
right.
thing is for you.
Yeah, and sometimes it's best if the group is made up of people who are all different, have different businesses, different target markets. So you'd have a lawyer and a real estate agent and a IT guy and a business coach and whatever in the group. And then there's no competition. You don't have to worry about that. And they can also have the people in the group can also share clients with each other. Oh, my client needs a lawyer, or I know a great real estate agent, as the case may be. And then again, if you had a group of all the same people, same industry, You might want them from different geographic areas, like all across the country. And that would work too, because something that works out west might not work in the east, for example. Or somebody in the east might have thought it wouldn't work. And sure enough, the person out west says, yeah, no worries. It works really well. But you're not competing, so you're willing to share that kind of advice.
And I think you hit on a key point of masterminds, right? This lack of competition. It's more from support. How do we join hands together and rise together?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's fun and you meet fabulous people.
Right? Yeah. Cool, cool. Well, where can people get in touch with you? And I know you've got a free gift coming. We're not sure
Yes.
what it is, folks. It's going to be a surprise, but we'll be sure and put it in the show notes. But where else can they find you? Either social media, website, whatever you want to share.
My website is cameronleadership.ca in Canada. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, I'm on, you can get hold of me on Messenger or WhatsApp. Yeah.
Okay,
And all
cool.
the
And you
usual.
do work with people in the States as well, correct? Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not
Yeah,
that different,
financial
right?
planning and financial coaching and masterminding, it can be very generic. We have different retirement plan names than you do, but we still have retirement plans like you do.
Exactly. And money is money.
And money is money. Yours is worth more than ours, but yeah.
Well, it has been a delight and a pleasure to have you join us
Thank
here
you
on
so
this
much.
episode of Powerful on Purpose. And be sure Peggy is going to be in the book, Wake Up Revolution, as well. So be sure and grab the book and stay tuned, subscribe, and stay tuned for more powerful episodes with women who are sharing their story and changing the world.